Welcome design students. In this video we're going to render our level sequence and turn it into a looping video using Premiere Pro. So let's get started. Before we start, I wanted to show you something that you could do that might help in your future animation endeavors. And instead of relying on this little window down here, we can actually open up another window, another viewport window like so, and we can tell that to be a cinematic viewport. And then we can switch it to the camera actor, and we can deselect the camera actor. We don't get that window anymore, but what this does is it shows us what our camera sees, and we can play it, pause it, reverse it, and go back to the beginning and advance forward one frame and all sorts of cool things. And we can set it to loop. So this is a very useful tool. This viewport also doesn't show any of the little selector icons because it's a cinematic viewport. So let's render out this level sequence. So we're going to select our camera cut, and we're going to click this little film slate icon right here, and that's going to bring up the render movie settings. Here we can set the resolution. If you click this little drop down menu, I think 1280 by 720 is good for us. And if we open this advanced tab, there are some things in here we don't need. We can also set the file path. Right now it's going to go into your Unreal project folder in the saved/video folder, which is fine as long as you know where it's going. But I am going to click these little three dots, click my desktop, and create a new folder that I'm going to call frames. And that is the folder I'm going to target to. So I'm going to click select, and you can see that my new file path appears right here. Down here under cinematic, you can check this to override whatever your engine scalability is and use cinematic mode, and I think you should do that. Under this animation tab down at the bottom is where we can set the frame range. I'm going to set 5 warm-up frames. That means it'll sort of render 5 frames before it actually starts rendering. And we can also set a custom start and end frame. Now, if you have to stop your render part of the way through, for example, if class is over and you have to leave, you can come in the next day and set a new frame range to pick up right where you left off. And very importantly, up here at the very top is where we select the output format. We want to change this from AVI to PNG sequence. And the reason we want to do that is precisely because we may have to stop this render and start it up again later. If we're rendering straight to video, then we can't pick it up later. And then once we've got all that set, we can just click Capture Movie. And you'll get a little preview window like this. Yours is probably not going to be as fast as mine. This is my PC at home. It's built for game design. But I did render this scene at school, and it took 30 to 45 minutes. So it takes a lot longer, but it's still a lot quicker than doing it in Maya. So now once that's done, we can close this window, save everything, and we will go to Premiere Pro. So when you open Premiere Pro, you're going to see a window like this. You can simply click New Project, and it's going to bring up this little window. And you don't really need to do anything here. You don't even need to name this project. Click OK. Actually, if I need to name it because I already have one named Untitled. And once that finishes, you will have something that looks like this. Now, all we need to do is import our image sequence. So we're going to go to File, Import. I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to find that frames folder that I used, or that I created. I'm going to click the first frame, not double click, just click it once. And then very importantly, you need to find this image sequence box and check it. In the Mac, you're probably going to have to click a button down here at the bottom of the window called Options, and that will open up where you can check this box. So very importantly, check the image sequence box and then click Open. And that will bring your video in as an image sequence. And you can see here clearly that if I hover my mouse and move it around, that this is an image sequence. So I'm going to drag it into my empty timeline, and it automatically creates a video, like so. Now I'm going to set this to loop, and we're going to watch it loop one time. And you'll see that it works just fine. But to make sure that it loops, we need the first frame to be exactly like the last frame. Now to make sure that happens, we need to find this time code number here and right click on it and change it to frames. And what we're going to do is cut this video exactly in the middle. So come up here to where it says 0 now and type in 200, because we know that this video is 400 frames long, I think. Let's go to the end here. Yes. So type in 200, and then you're going to get the cut tool, which is a little razor blade tool here, and you're going to cut right where your playhead is, and it'll snap to that and cut. Then you're going to get the select tool, take the first clip, move it over, and drop it so that you have rearranged the two, and then select both of them and move them back to 0. And so now we should have a nice looping video. Let's see what happens when we hit the cut in the middle. You see that little flash? That's okay, but we can fix that. Now, sometimes this looks good doing it this way and sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to zoom in on the vertical of my video track by clicking this. And I'm going to go to I'm going to click these two little arrows here, and I'm going to open up Effects. Now what you're looking for in here is audio, video transitions, dissolve, and then you're going to grab a cross dissolve and drop it between your two clips. And you'll probably get a warning like this, but don't worry about it. And then we're going to play it again and see what it looks like. And you can see that where it sort of transitions there, it's a little much. So I don't like that. So I'm going to click my cross dissolve and come up here to where it says duration, and I'm going to shorten that to 20. And let's see what that looks like at 20. A little better. Now let's shorten it to 10 and see what it looks like at 10. That looks a little better. If it doesn't look good, then we might want to just stick with the flash, because it could flash. Now if you don't like the way that looks, you can simply click the cross dissolve and delete it. Now I'm going to see what that looks like. It really doesn't look that bad. So I think I'm going to stick with that. And what we need to do now is render this out of Premiere Pro. So we're going to advance towards the end and hit play, and it should just stop at the end. No, I have it set to loop. Sorry. Unclick that. And in order to make this a looping video, I do not want to render this last blank frame. So I'm going to use my arrow keys to advance back one frame, like so. Forward, back, arrow keys. And now, at this point, I'm going to set what's called an out point. So I'm going to right click on the timeline and select Mark Out. And that's telling Premiere Pro I only want to render this much of the timeline. So to render this, we're going to go to File, Export, Media. And that brings up this window. Now I want you to post this to your ArtStation portfolios, so under Format here, we need to select a web-compatible format, which would be H.264. And then you need to click this little blue output name here and select a destination. I'm going to select desktop, and I'm going to name this Saber Render 05 to make sure I don't overwrite anything. You can see the name has changed. I don't have any audio, so I'm going to uncheck that. And then under the Video tab, make sure you have that selected. I'm going to scroll down here and find the quality. Right now it's set to 10, and that'll give me a file size of 16 megabytes. I don't think it needs to be 10. I'm going to make it 6. And you can see that my file size decreased considerably. Once you get that done, you can click Export. And you will now have a looping video that you can open on your desktop or wherever you set it to go to, and it will loop. But you have to set the playback to loop. Windows Media Player does this annoying thing where the controls pop up every time it loops. But what we're looking for is a smooth transition from beginning to end. Now let's see if it flashes in the middle. It does, well, a little bit, but that's okay. So now we have a true looping video that you can upload to your ArtStation portfolio. You don't need this Premiere Pro file anymore, so you can just close it and not save it. And in the next video, we'll do something even more fun, and I'll see you then.